What's up guys, it's Tom here and welcome to a very interesting Liverpool transfer news video, because the Dortmund CEO came out with a very detailed interview about Jadon Sancho, and they are saying that Dortmund will not stand in the way of a potential summer transfer exit, and Liverpool are really interested in Jadon Sancho. But let me know guys, if you can choose one player, one big superstar player to sign for Liverpool in the summer transfer window, who would you choose? Jadon Sancho or Kai Havertz or Timo Werner or even maybe Philippe Coutinho? I don't think Mbappe is realistic, but all the other names that I mentioned, I think Liverpool could get one of them. If we sell a lot of players, and we could generate up to £100 million with selling players like Grujic, Harry Wilson, Shaqiri, and other players, Lovren maybe as well, then we could easily generate £100 million. And if we can generate that, I think we can sign Timo Werner and one of the other three, Sancho or Coutinho, or even Kai Havertz. So let's listen to this interview by the Dortmund CEO, and also I will give you a detailed insight into Jadon Sancho's career so far. So we will take a look at how he could fit into this Liverpool side. And I think even if we don't sell Salah and Mane, Jadon Sancho could easily play 20-30 games as a starter player at Liverpool. And he just excites me. He is the kind of player who I would love to see at Liverpool for years to come. And Jadon Sancho, even if we sign him for 120 million pounds, we could easily sell him 5, 6, 7 years ago for even more money, or the same amount of money that we paid for him. So it's a no-brainer transfer. I know it costs a lot of money, but his resale value, even 7-8 years from now, would be immense, because as I said, he just turned 20 years old. And Sky Sports is reporting that Jadon Sancho will leave Dortmund when the transfer window reopens, whenever that will be. But there are no favorites on who he will sign for. Manchester United, Man City, Liverpool and Chelsea are all interested in Sancho, as well as Bayern Munich and Juventus. And the Dortmund CEO actually revealed that if one of those clubs come in with an offer that is acceptable for Dortmund, then Dortmund will not stand in the way of Jadon Sancho, and they will not keep Sancho against his will at Dortmund. This is what he said in an interview to Bild. You always have to respect what the player wants. We already said before this crazy situation arrived in Europe that our preference is, of course, for Jadon Sancho to remain with Dortmund, but I can say clearly that even the very rich clubs, despite the current existential crisis, shouldn't think they can get a bargain from us. We don't have to sell anyone below their value. The Bild headline is Watzke, who is a very good friend of Jurgen Klopp, is saying that you have to respect what the player wants. Dortmund CEO will not say to Jadon Sancho, if you want to leave Dortmund, you can't, we won't sell you. They will find a solution. So if Liverpool want to sign Jadon Sancho, and I really believe that Liverpool want to sign Jadon Sancho, and it's only a matter of whether Liverpool thinks it will make financial sense for Liverpool, and in the sporting department, I don't think there is any question that Jadon Sancho would improve Liverpool, because Jurgen Klopp is a huge fan of Jadon Sancho, and I think that if Liverpool can make a financial deal, a financial package that works for Liverpool FC and for Dortmund, that Jadon Sancho will become a Liverpool player. I'm really convinced about that. And Jurgen Klopp said that Liverpool wanted to sign Jadon Sancho before he went to Dortmund. Buying English players is a smart idea, because we would never have a chance to get Jadon Sancho because Manchester City didn't want to sell to a rival English club. And Jurgen Klopp said this about Jadon Sancho: we are not blind, we saw him, we liked him, and then we thought, can we get him? No, because English clubs don't sell to other English clubs. I don't know exactly what the reason is for that, but they don't do it. Now these English players go to Germany, to the Bundesliga, and showcase their talents, and the Bundesliga is a wonderful league. And this is also very important, that Jadon Sancho probably felt that he absolutely had to leave England to get a proper career in football, because in all the top English clubs he didn't have a place. I mean, Dortmund is on the same level for me as somebody like Tottenham or Arsenal right now, or maybe even like Chelsea, and in those clubs Jadon Sancho would never had a chance, but at Dortmund he got a chance and he took it with both hands. And the reason why Jadon Sancho is really desperate to move that back to England is this, and I quote Jadon Sancho: "Moving away from home was the biggest challenge for me, leaving my mom and my sisters behind. I missed them a lot, but I wanted to do what was best for me, and that's what I did. It was very tough, especially missing my mom, but if you really believe in yourself, you have to do what's best for you. I'm now with my dad in Germany in an apartment. Not everyone is comfortable moving from home. If you are ready to play abroad and you believe in yourself, then why not?" And this just shows that Jadon Sancho would love to come back to England. I'm sure that he wants to spend more time with his family and also with his sisters, and also just to show everybody in England what he could do up close in the Premier League. And even the Dortmund CEO admits that there is a very big uncertainty around football at the moment. You don't know what the future will bring, you don't know how this situation will be resolved and when it will be resolved, when leagues can restart, when the transfer window will be open, and also how much financially the clubs will be hit, because even the biggest clubs in the world like Liverpool, like Dortmund, will be hit with the financial crisis that is coming. Everybody in the world will be affected. And at the moment, the planning for next season is on hold, probably at Liverpool and at Dortmund. But I think the people are talking behind the scenes what they should do if the purse strings need to be tightened, if you like. And Watzke also said, regardless of names that we never discuss publicly, it's really not the right time to talk about transfer fees and transfers. Sports director Michael Zorc and the player manager Sebastian Kehl also know that. And for example, 2 transfers to Dortmund: the England high flyer Jude Bellingham, who is only 16 years old, from Birmingham City, and also Paris Saint-Germain right back Thomas Meunier, who is 28 years old. These transfers were in a well advanced stage, and Dortmund were almost finished with signing them, but then this crisis hit and everything is on hold. The Bild newspaper is reporting that both players would like to move to Dortmund and only their signatures are missing on the contract, and it's almost certain that they will be Dortmund players. But even Dortmund are holding out on just to see how this situation will resolve itself. And at the moment it looks like that the financial crisis will be so deep that even the transfer fees, even the player wages will be shifting, and they will be a lot lower in the coming years, like maybe 20-30% lower, maybe even as much as 50% lower. You don't really know. And that means that it doesn't make any financial sense for Dortmund to sign the contracts of those players when you don't know how much the financial difficulties will hit Dortmund in the next 6 months, in the next year. And until you know that, and it applies to Liverpool as well, it doesn't make sense to sign any players on a big transfer fees. I think the transfer window will be open once this season will be finished, whenever that is, maybe in September or August, and then the transfer window will be open, and then I think we will see a lot more clearly how this financial crisis will impact football and football clubs, and TV deals, transfer fees, wages, everything will be affected. And we also have to say in this report that there are growing fears in Germany over the future of several Bundesliga clubs, and actually most clubs in the Bundesliga 2, which is the Bundesliga's second division. There is a very growing concern that they will be financially deeply hit and impacted because of the restrictions on private investment. Because of the league's 50+1 rule, concerns are being raised that the clubs could be forced into a fire sale of their best talents to other countries. And for example, Leverkusen might have to sell Kai Havertz, Dortmund might have to sell Jadon Sancho, just to not go down under financially, which is going to be a very, very difficult time for many clubs in Germany, because with the 50+1 rule, fan-owned clubs like most of the Bundesliga clubs, I think only Hoffenheim are not really like fan-owned, and maybe Leipzig, but all the other clubs are fan-owned mostly. Like the 50+1 rule means that 50% of the shares plus one share has to be fan-owned, so there is no like proper like foreign investor or owner who decides the fate of these football clubs. So it's less danger that they are financially mismanaged, but also it has a disadvantage that you can't just pump money into these clubs when they find themselves in these financial difficult times. And Emil Heskey gave an interview recently saying that Sancho can give Liverpool more longevity, because Jurgen Klopp will target a really, really young Jadon Sancho who could rejuvenate Liverpool and who could inject some real proper excitement into the Liverpool squad, into the Liverpool fan base as well. And it could add youthful dynamism and everything. Sancho has everything. He has flair, he has pace, he has skills, and he has the personality to be an absolute superstar and a huge, huge player. And Heskey thinks that Jadon Sancho is exactly the kind of player Jurgen Klopp will be looking at this summer with his current Liverpool side, due to move into a transitional phase in the coming years. I don't think so. I don't think we are near a transitional phase. I think we still have 2 or 3 years with this Liverpool team. I mean, except maybe Lovren, all the other players can last another 2 or 3 years. So I still think that we are a few years away from being in a transitional period where many of our main players like Jordan Henderson, Wijnaldum, Van Dijk, Salah, Mane, Firmino will be 30, 31 or maybe 32, and they will be just declining a little bit. I think in the next 2 years these players can still perform at the peak of their powers, but Heskey said this: when you look at Jadon Sancho's age, he will always be an asset to Liverpool. In 2 or 3 years you've got an aging Liverpool side, even though in this day and age and with the fitness levels of all the players, age is nothing, but having someone young, fresh and dynamic coming in, it will only add to the squad. And I think that is where Jurgen Klopp is going to be looking at next, what he can add to this squad that is going to give Liverpool that little bit more longevity. And Jadon Sancho could be a transfer which marks the next era of Liverpool superstars, and I think that it would be brilliant. And Heskey also said this: when you look at the Liverpool front line, you've got Mane and Salah as the goal-getters, and that is exactly what they do well. They command respect from defenders as a result. You would like to think that Sancho has the quality to get in the side, but it will be very tough to get in ahead of Salah or Mane. But I still believe that Jadon Sancho is so good that he could give Salah and Mane a run for their money. And imagine how good Liverpool could be if Salah and Mane felt that their place is under threat. If they don't perform, that Jadon Sancho could come in and take their place. That would be absolutely incredible competition for places at Liverpool, and I would love to see that, honestly. And let's talk about what this financial crisis what kind of impact could it have on the football, and especially football transfers and wages. And like the rest of the world economy, the financial impact of this pandemic on football has been immediate and significant. but that significance is being felt to varying degrees depending on the size of the club and its financial model. All clubs have suffered the instant loss of like the home games gate receipts, but while for some this accounts for just a small portion of the revenue, for other clubs it's a huge size of their income and it's their lifeblood. Some have already guaranteed their 19-20 season ticket money, for example, but others are paid in installments. Some have begun selling next season's season tickets, while others have put that on hold. Some have a low proportion of walk-in supporters. For others, they account for most on match day. That means that like people who don't have a season ticket, who just walk in, purchase a ticket and go and watch the game. And also it's very significant that clubs can't scout at the moment because there are just no games around in the world apart from the Belarusian Premier League, but other countries have stopped their leagues. The loss of live scouting has also immediately hindered recruitment processes. Instead the risk of getting decisions wrong is increasing, and that means clubs are even less likely to follow through on deals they were perhaps already planning. As one sporting director at a top level club explained, it's true to say that modern scouting networks are not dependent on live scouting. With platforms like Y-Scout and the like, you can still watch players from your office, and actually we have all found more time to do that now. We are working from home, but live scouting is still an important part of the process. It shouldn't be a calamity for any club to not be able to watch players for the time being, but for some it might make or break a deal if they were looking to do it. Perhaps they won't sign one or two they otherwise would have this summer. That, coupled with a hesitancy to commit to spending because a club is not sure how much money they will get in the near future, will make recruitment and transfers really difficult. It will have a huge effect on the amount of movement. So probably we will see a lot less transfers and a lot less brick transfers happening in the next like 6 months. Maybe it will rebound in the next 1 or 2 years when this situation will be over, but in the immediate future you will see probably less activity than normal, than what we are used to. And also Kieran Scott, the head of recruitment at Norwich City, said this to Sky Sports. There are two ways of looking at it. You could open the window now, so clubs could generate cash from selling players. I can see the value in that, but then that could allow a buying club to use that situation to their advantage and offer to buy players cheaper. I don't think anyone wants that, and I don't think another club will want to be the cause of another club going bankrupt. It's a tough one, tough situation all around, and yeah, I really think that this will have very big implications on the football as we know it, and maybe it's a kind of a good thing that the transfer fees and the wages will be lower a little bit, because they just went insane. I mean, 222 million pounds for just one player like Neymar, as good as Neymar is. It just shows that that football was in this huge bubble, and maybe it just needs to come down a little bit, just to be a little bit more like realistic. The transfer fees will still be huge amounts of money, but I don't think it should be like paying 150, 200 million for just one player is absolutely insane, in my opinion. And one top level sporting director actually believes that the Premier League clubs will be hit so significantly that their power over the market will decrease. For a long time, we have all known clubs have been paying over the odds on transfer fees and player wages, and for a long time many have wanted something to be done about it. This could finally be what we need to reset the market. That's what I was talking about previously, and this expert also said, I think one of the greatest impacts will be on the Premier League. Many of our clubs have been paying bigger transfer fees and salaries than anywhere else in Europe for a long time. Outgoings have been significantly higher, but that can't happen this summer. Maybe the very top clubs who are less reliant on on gate receipts will be okay, but many clubs could be facing anywhere between 3 and 5 months without any regular income at all. That will hit the valuations of players and what clubs are willing to pay. I think we could be looking at by at least 50%. This could reset valuations, and it could take a long time for transfer fees to get back to where they were before this happened, if at all. And that's a very interesting point of view. And what do you think about that? I think that transfer fees could come down by as much as 30, 40, maybe even 50%. That's really hard to predict, but what is certain is that football will not be the same when it resumes. Of course, the transfer fees, the wages, and I expect a lot less transfers maybe to happen, and also the transfer fees will be lower. So not sure what the best strategy is from a Liverpool point of view. I think we should still sign Timo Werner, because even if the transfer fees come down 30-40%, Timo Werner at 50 million is still a bargain. So I really hope that we sign him, and then let's see how much the asking price of Jadon Sancho will be in the summer. I think we should wait and see from a Liverpool point of view what happens, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. See you later, guys. Goodbye.